Thank you, Ciaran Lynch, and if I could thank the Ciaran Lynch's office for granting me time to speak on this issue this afternoon. Ciaran Lynch, up to 40 workers are expected to be made redundant by Vita Cortex in Friday of this week. The context of the problem that I'm bringing before you this evening is that the company owner secured a loan of €10 million from AIB to purchase this company approximately 2 years ago. 3 months ago, the company announced the planned closure because the loan had been taken over by NAMA and the company's assets have been frozen. Now, I understand that there are funds available to meet the redundancy payments to which the employees are entitled to, but because the company is in NAMA, redundancy payments cannot be agreed in the normal manner if they would if the company was not in the NAMA structure. To date, Vita Cortex has met with NAMA to seek to have the funds unfrozen, and up until recent weeks there was an impression put out there that some resolution would be made to this matter. However, just prior to coming into the Chamber this afternoon, I am now to understand that AIB have been in contact with the workers on behalf of NAMA and have stated emphatically that this redundancy payment will not actually be paid out of company funds which are currently held in account. So in response to this, I'm stating very clearly in the Chamber this evening that I'm calling on the Minister to seek urgent agreement from NAMA to confirm to release these funds so that the workers who face the bleak prospect of unemployment will, at the very, very least, be sure they will receive their redundancy payments which are actually due to them. This case, Ciaran Lynch, very, very clearly highlights the difficulties which arise when NAMA effectively takes control of a company by taking charge of outstanding loans. NAMA's interest, however, in recovering the outstanding monies can be in conflict with the best interest of the companies and its employees. And here we have a situation where 40 workers facing into Christmas, who are now facing the dole queues as their Christmas gift, also have a difficulty with the redundancy payments to be paid out to them. And I'm calling for the Minister to intervene directly and to ensure that the obligations that are made payable to these workers are actually put in place. Thank you.
And the Minister to respond to 4 minutes.
Thank you. I'm taking this topical issue debate on behalf of my colleague Michael Noonan, TD, Minister for Finance. Reports in the media suggest that due to its assets having been frozen by NAMA, the employees of the Vita Cortex plant in Cork are being deprived of redundancy payments. In particular, it's reported that NAMA has control over a company bank account with cash assets of €2.5 million from which redundancy could be paid. However, it's important that we appreciate the full facts in this particular case, and I should say that there are important issues of client confidentiality that need to be respected in discussing this issue. NAMA is precluded under sections 99 and 202 of the NAMA Act 2009 from disclosing confidential information relating to debtors. I am therefore limited as to what I can say about the case. I understand from NAMA that the company in question is one of a group of companies owned by a NAMA debtor who on the 16th of September last announced his intention to close the Cork plant as part of the reorganisation of Vita Cortex that involved the amalgamation of the Cork-based production into the Athlone and Belfast plants. Nevertheless, I have been informed by NAMA that the company, which is being closed down by its owner, has no borrowings that are NAMA controlled. I am informed by NAMA that the employees being made redundant are employed by Vita Cortex Industrial Limited and that this company is not a NAMA debtor. The money referred to in media reports represents part security that NAMA has for a loan in respect of other companies which are NAMA debtors. In these circumstances, therefore, any suggestion that NAMA should release cash from this account so that the liabilities of another non-NAMA company should be discharged seem inappropriate. There is a redundancy payment scheme in operation, the purpose of which is to compensate workers for the loss of their jobs by reason of redundancy. Statutory redundancy lump sums are generally paid by the employer, who is then entitled to a rebate from the state of 60% of the relevant amount. Rebates to employers and lump sums paid directly to employees are paid from the Social Insurance Fund. NAMA would suggest that it is more the responsibility of the company's owner to make these payments from his own resources rather than asking NAMA to effectively make redundancy payments on his behalf by releasing security on unconnected loans. Indeed, if the security for this loan was a plot of land, there would be no question of the debtor seeking to get NAMA to pay the costs of his business. While the topic for debate relates to a particular issue, it's also worth pointing out that NAMA has assured the Minister for Finance that it is committed to contributing to the purposes of the National Asset Management Agency Act 2009, which inter alia requires it to contribute to the social and economic development of the state, in addition to protecting the interests of the taxpayer by ensuring that the value of any assets securing its loans is not diminished. In this context, NAMA ensures the Minister that it is a particular priority for NAMA where where possible, to minimise the adverse impact on the viability of any businesses affected or on the sustainability of any jobs that may be at stake. NAMA fully recognises the importance of ensuring the continued viability of businesses which can generate cash flow to repay debt and provide sustainable employment. However, NAMA cannot be held responsible for the liabilities of companies over which it has no control or with which it has no formal relationship. NAMA was not established to settle disputes or to adjudicate on the rights and wrongs in these cases. Such a role is beyond the functions of NAMA set out in statute in the National Assets Management Agency Act 2009. The prime function of NAMA is to manage acquired loans efficiently, effectively and expeditiously and in the best interests of the state. In doing so, it aims to attain the best achievable financial return on behalf of the taxpayer, subject to acceptable financial risk.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Lynch, 2 minutes. There.
Minister, to state that one aspect of a company is not in NAMA and another aspect of a company is in NAMA is to belie the complexities that actually NAMA have actually created in the marketplace. The fact of the matter is that NAMA have been engaged with discussions with the employer, and to my mind also that indirectly or directly with the unions on this matter. So they have up until this afternoon actually been engaged in the communication process on this issue. So I'm at a loss this afternoon as to NAMA now saying, having been in discussions, that it's got nothing to actually do with them. Also, I'm to understand that there is a holding account of in excess of €2.5 million there, to which the redundancy payments can actually be met with and met quite comfortably in it. But particularly so, there are two items that were mentioned in the budget last week which strike me very, very much as being relative to what we're actually debating in the House here this evening. The government made a very, very clear statement with regard to redundancy obligations of employers. And I think it's beholden upon the government to ensure that any relativity that it has itself to those measures of redundancy payments, that the government actually acts on that behalf. And that's why I'm calling on Minister Noonan to actually intervene and to look directly at this problem as it is now presents itself. Secondly, Minister Noonan, in the course of his presentation last week, with regard to NAMA, gave particular direction to NAMA to actually deal with, in terms of how it deals with tenants and deals with rents, that NAMA was actually directed specifically to take specific measures in that area. So that would indicate to me that it is within the competencies of this House, and is certainly within the competencies of the Minister for Finance, to actually give a direction to NAMA on this issue. Now, I will restate what I restated to you at the start of this debate here this evening. There is a situation here where 40 workers are without a redundancy payment, and I would be calling on Minister Noonan and his department to examine this issue and to make whatever intervention that they can to ensure that these workers actually get their legal obligations and that the redundancy payments are made payable to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Briefly, the Minister to reply.
Just to briefly respond again, and as I stressed earlier on, I'm limited in what I can say about this case in terms of the some degree of confidentiality that exists around it. But just to reiterate the points once again, that the company which has been closed down by its owner has no borrowings, none that are NAMA controlled. The company is not a NAMA debtor. The money referred to in the reports, the £2.5 million you referred to earlier on, Deputy, represents part security that NAMA has for a loan in respect of other companies which are NAMA debtors. So I can see the logic or the sense in suggesting that somehow money that is set aside for debts which apply to a certain number of companies under NAMA control, and which we should seek to protect in the best interests of the taxpayer, should be used to discharge the personal liability of the owner of a company to his employees. I have a huge degree of sympathy for the employees who are set to lose their jobs at a very, very difficult time for them. But I cannot see any pathway or any route as to how that money could be used to offset the company's owners' debts to those employees by using money which is in essence in security for debts that are controlled by NAMA, an entity that seeks to work and is working in the best interest of the taxpayer.